Hello, everyone. Hello. I am here I'm on the road again for this week's office hours. Welcome. This is the lead up to the office hours. I just need to send a message letting everyone know that I'm starting office hours, and then we can get going with this. I'm live on office. That would be great. All right, I have now sent the message. I am now fully not distracted. And welcome everyone to office hours. Obviously, we are not starting officially yet for one more minute. However, in the interim, great to have you. Great to have people come in here. As always, with office hours, I will answer any live questions we get from people in the chat. And then in lieu of any live questions, or if people sort of wait and come in a little later to ask questions, I do have a few questions that people pre-submitted this week during the RSVP process for office hours. So I will be responding to those as well. And I'll go through those, and then I can take breaks if people come in, ask questions. That's how we just do these office hours. So I'll go a half hour, or if we get a lot of live questions, I will go a full hour. It truly depends on just how many questions we get. And so I'm going to cover all of those today, and I will cover all of the questions we've got and any live questions you have. Always happy to do this. We'll be starting in just a few seconds. Officially, there we go. It is the top of the hour. I'm currently in U.S. Central Time, so it is noon here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is Sam. I am from GMass. I do these weekly office hours to answer people's questions that they have about using GMass, different GMass techniques, and whatever it may be. So if you want to submit a question, by the way, to future office hours, go ahead and just RSVP. You can go to the page. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. It's gmass.co/office-hours. And if you go there, you can RSVP for next week's office hours or any week's office hours. And while you're RSVPing, you can pre-ask a question, which I'll then address if you aren't able to make it live, and then you can watch the recording of these office hours. But in the meantime, welcome again. And I'm going to go through the questions people pre-submitted, as I'm not seeing any live questions yet. And if you're here and you do have live questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat at any point, and I will be able to respond to those. However, I'm going to get started, and I'm going to just make sure everything's working. You know, when I'm on the road, I don't have my cool green screen background, so it's a little bit of a different setup here today. All right, so I'm going to start with the pre-submitted questions then, and after I'm through with those, then we can move on, and I can do live questions if we have them. Okay, so here's the first pre-submitted question that we received. And hold on, I have to mute another tab. I apologize. I am just going to hop off of this other tab because it is very loud and it sends me ringing notifications. All right, so the first question: how can I deliver my message to the inbox instead of spam? And phone ops, I see your question. I will hop right on in and do yours. Actually, let's do yours first, and then I'll do the one that was pre-submitted. So phone ops, you asked, question: I created a new Gmail account. Is it best to use the new Gmail or domain email? I don't want our emails to go to spam. Well, this is a good question. One of the things is, since you created a new account, any new account, whether it's a Gmail address or a paid Google Workspace account using your own domain, if it's brand new, you are going to need to warm it up a little bit before you start sending campaigns, or else you do run that risk of your emails going to spam. So as some people know the history, there are some systems that can do automated warm-up for you. However, Google has cracked down on those. GMass used to offer one, and Google shut it down, and that does put you at risk. So what we recommend is doing a little bit of a manual warm-up, which is sending an email from that box, sending a few emails, like 2 emails on the first day, to email addresses you own or to friends, and then opening those emails, making sure if they're going to spam that you mark them as not spam, replying to those emails. The next day, sending a few more emails, doing this process. And then, after a week or two, after you've ramped up and sort of trained Google that people want emails from this new address, then you can starting to send to smaller groups from your list, ideally groups from your list that you think are likely to engage with you. So in terms of free versus paid, there is some conventional wisdom around the paid accounts doing better. However, we at GMass do see plenty of people sending campaigns with free gmail.com accounts and having plenty of success. Ultimately, whether you're sending from a free gmail.com account or a paid Google Workspace account often comes down to the branding aspect of it, right? Do you think that if you send this to someone and they see that it is from a gmail.com account rather than from a domain name, is that going to hurt their perception of your professionalism, of the quality of your offering? Will they be more suspicious that you're not legit? And then could that make them less likely to respond to you? Because ultimately, the difference between going to the inbox and spam is whether Google thinks people want your email, the emails from you. And what is the best sign that people want the emails from you? They're opening them, they're engaging with them, they're replying to them. So if you think that sending from a free gmail.com account might hurt that perception, then it may be wise to go with the domain route. In terms of pure deliverability though, doing that slight warm-up, obviously sending good emails, those are going to be the main factors. Something you may want to check out too is GMass has a tool called Spam Solver. And I highly recommend that people use this tool. So what this is before you send a campaign with GMass, you click on Spam Solver. You'll see it right here as you're working in GMass. Here in the GMass settings, right here, there's this little button that says Spam Solver. And if you click on that, and hold on, I need to open this window a little wider. There you go. If you click on that, then it will bring up this interface where basically what we do is GMass's system sends your email campaign to about 20 inboxes that we control. And because we control them, we can actually see where your email is going. Is it going to the inbox or is it going to the spam folder? We also have the promotions folder in here, although the promotions tab in GMass is kind of not really a thing that people really think about anymore. But, and you could see, okay, I'm not going to the inbox. A lot of my emails are going to spam. And then what we have here in Spam Solver is you'll see recommendations here and other tests you can run on your email. So you could actually see one of the tests that's highlighted here is swapping out the from domain. So you can actually see if maybe sending it from a different domain would affect your spam rates. And if so, if sending it from a different domain leads to better inbox results, then you know maybe it's time to reconsider or to warm up your email address better. You can also try various other tests. So that's what I would say. In terms of Gmail, free Gmail versus Google Workspace, on the most fundamental level, I don't believe that you're going to see a deliverability issue based on the difference between those two things. Deliverability is largely going to come down to whether you've trained Google to understand that you're sending emails from this email address often to new contacts, and that those people want them. And if you're getting engagement, ultimately engagement breeds more engagement, and it breeds getting into the inbox. And you can always use Spam Solver to double check. So I really hope that helps. But what I would say is go through that process, try this out, see if you're having success here. If not, you can always reach out to GMass's support team. We have a full-time deliverability person on staff, and his only job, I mean, I say only, but it was a huge job, but his job is to make sure that everybody's emails are going to the inbox and to work on deliverability for all across GMass. So he'll be always happy to help someone as you're trying to work through deliverability issues and to solve deliverability questions. So I hope that helps, and please let me know if you have any follow-up questions about this. But that should, between this mix of tools and techniques, hopefully your emails should go to the inbox. All right, let's check another question. You can always ask a follow-up, of course, and please, as I said, please drop your questions in the live chat if you have them, and I will address them first. Let's go back to that pre-submitted question that we got, which was, how can I deliver my message to the inbox instead of spam? I'm trying, but nothing happens. Another deliverability question, and that makes sense. So essentially, the same things apply to this question as what I just said. Here's what you can't do. You can't start a brand new email address or register a brand new domain, create a Google Workspace account, and then immediately send 2,000 virtually identical messages from that email account. that is a spam red flag. It's just an indisputable spam red flag. So in terms of getting your emails to the inbox, what you need to focus on the fundamentals. That is making sure that your email address is at least a little bit warm, right? And again, because automated warm-ups have fallen out of favor and Google can shut those down immediately, what we recommend is ramping up slowly, sending to smaller groups or to highly targeted people who are on your list who you know are going to be really receptive to your offer, or to friends and coworkers and colleagues, email addresses you haven't reached out to before, and sending them messages and having some people open them and some people reply to them, just to show standard engagement with your email address. Now, once you finish that, then, of course, cold email, and I assume you're sending cold email, fundamentals are in play here. If you're just haphazardly sending to an untargeted list, your emails are in no way really personalized. And by personalized, I don't just mean including someone's first name, but personalization also refers to the type of offer you're offering people. For instance, we are an email software company at here at GMass, right? So, we're not an enterprise level. We don't have 30,000 employees, right? So if you send me something about enterprise level, encryption for, or something for my brick and mortar shop. I mean, these would be things that would be totally irrelevant to me, right? And you might do that if you just bought a giant list. But if you're sending targeted messages, for instance, I head up content here at GMass. I get a lot of emails that can be relevant to me, right? And these go to my inbox, even if I'm not interested in them. Things like link building emails, or freelance writers who want to submit to us, or people who want to write guest posts on GMass, things like this. These come to me, and those go to my inbox generally because those are targeted to me, and Google knows that I'm engaging with those type of emails. It's actually quite smart. And in those cases, then often those will go to the inbox and not spam. So again, let's backpedal again. Warmed up email address, relevant offers that are getting engagement from your list, ramping up the numbers you send. For instance, not coming right out of the gate with thousands of emails, but starting a little smaller and gradually increasing the number of emails you send with those relevant offers. And then there are also other things you can do. For instance, using a custom tracking domain rather than using the generic tracking domain. So a custom tracking domain, if you're using tracking, and if you're using tracking on your links, or you're checking opens, which uses a pixel, or you have an unsubscribe link, by setting up a custom tracking domain, that makes sure that no one else's reputation who's sharing that tracking domain with you is affecting yours. That can be a little bit of a deliverability helper in itself. And of course, there's sort of the other sort of rule of thumb, conventional wisdom type things that some people like doing. For instance, some people turning off open and click tracking so they don't have to mess with that at all. Some people like setting a pause between their emails. For instance, adding here we offer like a 10 to 60 second pause. By setting that pause between your emails, then you know what? I think my head is blocking this. My head is blocking this. It is. I just realized that. So there we go. That should get my head out of the way. All right, by adding a pause between emails, a pause of 10 to 60 seconds here, or we have other options, 1 to 5 minutes, that which better simulates the cadence of how a real person will be sending one-on-one emails. Things like this. These are all little deliverability things that you can try and that you can use in order to help get your emails across the finish line. And then, of course, there's even more of the conventional wisdom stuff, like not using spam trigger words, although we think that Google is now smart enough that they can differentiate, and it's not just they have this list of terms, and if you use the word free or you use a $sign in your email or whatever it may be, then you're flagged. However, some people just want to take every possible precaution and go by those older rules of thumb, and in those cases, they wouldn't want to include those words. But basically, again, the much bigger fundamentals of this are having a warmer email address that you're sending to a reasonable amount of people, and you've ramped up to an acceptable sending volume, and of course that you're sending emails that people actually want and people are actually engaging with. Because if you send emails that people want and people are actually engaging with, then it's more likely that the next time you send an email, people are going to engage with those again. and they're going to, Google's going to put that in more people's inboxes because they know, okay, this person actually belongs in the inbox, not the spam folder. Google's just trying to surface emails that it believes people want and get those into the inbox. And it's trying to take emails that it believes are spam and put those in the spam folder. So think about it. Are you sending spam? Right? I mean, I know that we're sending cold email, and cold email exists in a gray area. But are you sending spam? If you're sending untargeted emails to haphazardly built lists that you've purchased, that maybe you've verified emails, maybe you've enriched the leads, maybe you haven't. I mean, if you're sending spam, in many ways, you probably should go to spam. And that's what their entire system is built around, which is why I want to always get back to the fundamental that there is a difference between cold email and spam. This is a blurry line, but there is a difference. And if you are sending emails that are spam, they kind of belong in spam. But a targeted, relevant offer to a legitimate business contact, then that should probably go into the inbox because you're actually offering them something relevant and of value to them, right? I think it's easy to stray from these sort of foundational principles of what cold email should be. And a lot of people do. And that's why there's a lot of emails that go to spam and why the industry has kind of a negative reputation in a lot of circles. But if you buck those trends and really remember that what you're trying to do with cold email is not just blast out some mediocre offer that may or may not be relevant to as many people as possible, you should try to send a relevant offer that actually helps people and serves a legitimate purpose for them. Not only will those be more likely to go to the inbox, they'll be more likely to actually get replies and to generate business, which is ultimately the goal. So I'm not trying to get too preachy and to sort of push these fundamentals that don't actually work in the real world. I don't like when people do that, but these are fundamentals that actually do work in the real world, which is why I'm pushing them and why I really recommend them. So if you keep that in mind as you're working on your targeting and you're working on your prospecting, and then follow through with some of the techniques I've discussed, then we should see you getting into the inbox. So I hope that helps. All right. Let's do another question here that was submitted in advance. It was a little longer than I can paste in, but basically, have a 4-stage follow-up that is sent to 2,000 different highly customized emails. And while these follow-ups are scheduled and sent, I don't want to change the subject line. Let me know if this is doable. So I think maybe they mean they do want to change the subject line. But either way, so let's talk about follow-ups in GMass and what you can do. I like that this person is sending customized follow-ups, and that's great. So what I'm going to direct you to is this blog post that I pulled up in advance for this, which is our blog post on how to cancel, pause, edit, or add auto follow-up emails. Because this is a question we get. Now, this is not that complicated, but it is something that we like to disambiguate. And is that a word? I don't know. It sounded right. It sounded wrong when I said it. It sounded right in my head. But we want to sort of eliminate some of the ambiguity around this process. Ultimately, a lot of messing with your follow-up emails, whether it's pausing them, whether it's editing them in particular, or even adding them, a lot of it comes down to pausing your campaign to do this work. I like to do that. So there are numerous ways to pause a campaign in GMass. Here I show you in the dashboard with a live campaign. I have some live campaigns here in my dashboard. These are all play because they're active. If I click this, it will pause them. That's one of the ways to pause them. And then you'll get a warning. You can also pause a campaign inside of GMass. If you open the campaign, the draft of that campaign, which is still in your drafts folder as it's sending, excuse me, and then open up the settings, and you'll see options, and one of them is pause campaign. This is how I do it, actually, is you go in here, and you click pause campaign. And when you pause that campaign, then you're pausing the campaign, and you'll get an option to either pause the campaign or pause the campaign and the auto follow-ups. And you click that, and that pauses the auto follow-ups. And now I like to do that because now we can edit them or do whatever we want. You can come in here you can edit the follow-ups in the settings box just like you would have done before you sent the campaign. So if you're using the plain text follow-ups, you come in here and you can make your edits in the text boxes. Or if you're using the rich text follow-ups, you can always you can click there and it would show here, and then you can click and you can edit those as well. So you can do those. You can cancel auto follow-ups, and that's the old way to do it. And you can add auto follow-ups while a campaign is sending. Again, but you'll want to turn on this setting if you ever think you might want to do that, which is in the dashboard, which is here. If you go to the dashboard and we come up to settings and where's auto follow-ups? Auto follow-ups. Then allow adding auto follow-ups after the campaign is sent. If you have this, then GMass will know that you may add auto follow-ups, and we like to give people that option. And then you can add auto follow-ups. Oh, what if you don't have that checked in advance? It's okay. You can basically then use a workaround, and that's also covered in this article. So again, anytime you want to do anything to your auto follow-ups and you're curious about how that's going to go, highly recommend you come over to this How to Cancel, Pause, Edit, or Add Auto Follow-up Emails article, because this goes into deep detail, screenshots. Just make sure that you can confidently make the changes that you need and that you know that they're going to work out okay. So this is what I would recommend. Just go here. This is going to be your source of truth for anything related to changes to auto follow-ups. So I hope that helps to the person who asked that. And then, all right. And we have another live question. Yes, sir, Phone Ops. Is it best to add columns, click to open, bounce to the Google Sheet instead of adding a domain tracker? Well, first of all, you don't actually need to add those. GMass will automatically add those. So when you connect to a Google Sheet, like let's say you connect to this Google Sheet, GMass in the optional settings has this checkbox, update sheet with reporting data. And if you check that box, then when your campaign is sending, GMass will automatically add columns to your Google Sheet for opens, clicks, replies, and bounces. So you'll actually be able to see those in your sheet. Now, you will not be able to get open tracking and click tracking unless you have open tracking and click tracking turned on for your campaign. There's no way to track opens and clicks without using a tracking domain, whether you're using one of the generic ones that GMass provides to everyone, or whether you've set up the custom tracking domain like I discussed earlier. It's actually very easy to do, and it's highly recommended if you are going to use tracking. Now, there's no other way to detect opens and clicks, right? I mean, I guess you could look at the analytics for your website and manually add clicks, but we don't want anyone to do that. So if you are going to track opens and clicks, you need to have open and click tracking turned on. But GMass will automatically update your sheet with their reporting data. However, there's no difference from a deliverability perspective, whether you're updating the sheet with reporting data or whether you're coming, say, to the desktop here and looking at your analytics, or whether you're going into this web-based report right here and looking at your analytics. All of those are coming from the same data sources. Now, you can track replies without having a tracking link. Because replies, we can just detect those in your inbox. We don't need to use a tracking domain to detect replies. Likewise with bounces. We don't need a tracking domain to detect bounces because those come back to your inbox. And GMass has instant reply and bounce detection. So as soon as you get a reply, it will update your stats and we'll detect that you've received a reply, likewise with bounces. So this is, if you want to have that data in your Google Sheet, you can check the update sheet with reporting data when you're connecting your spreadsheet to the campaign. However, from a deliverability perspective, if you want to track opens and clicks, you need to have open and click tracking turned on. So there's just no way around that for detecting those two things. Replies, which is often the top metric for cold emailers, because in most cold email cases, people are trying to get a reply. There are some who are trying to get a click, but reply is the most common. In those cases, you would not need to use a tracking domain, which is why there are a lot of cold emailers out there who just are very paranoid and don't want to use any links of any kind, no links, no images, anything in their emails because they think that anything that might even have a remote shot at hurting deliverability, they want to turn off. In those cases, they're not getting open and click tracking data, but they are still getting reply tracking data because we can track replies no matter what. So yeah, I would recommend if you're worried, if you're just starting with a new domain and you're really worried about the possible ramifications of having the open tracking pixel in there, or having any links in your email, links that are tracked or not, just any links, because a lot of cold emailers just don't want any links. Then you can still get reply tracking, and that will still work. In this case, GMass will update your Google Sheet with replies and bounces. We won't update it with opens and clicks because we don't have that information. Likewise, your reports here, when you look at your reports, your open rate will be 0, your click rate will be 0 because we don't have that data, but you would see your number of replies here. So you would be able to see that. So that's what I would recommend if you're worried about tracking. And again, though, if you do want to use tracking, the concept of a custom tracking domain sometimes seems a little complicated to people. I know this. I get that feedback from people. However, what I would say is it's really not that complicated. And if you do want to use open and click tracking or an unsubscribe link, which would also use your custom tracking domain, then it is really a worthwhile thing to have the custom tracking domain. It is a deliverability booster. And in fact, GMass takes it even to the next level where we apply an SSL certificate to your email tracking domain. We're one of the very few email service providers out there that does this. And that makes it so your tracking link is secure. It's HTTPS rather than just the HTTP link that you'll see at other email providers. And that in itself also is another little booster. So it's really all upside if you're going to do open and click tracking to use the custom tracking domain. So I hope that makes sense and I hope that helps. And please go ahead and ask if you do have any other questions. I'd be happy to answer them right now because it looks like I only have one other pre-submitted question here. Let me double check. These are just sort of not questions. Yes. Okay, here we go. Yes. And then I'll do this one, and then I will stay here for a few minutes to offer any more options for live questions if people have them. So it's how to use 2 different emails for different account approach. So again, I believe what this person is referring to is using multiple sending accounts. And I will just show you really quickly how to use multiple sending accounts here. GMass multi-send. So for those who are unfamiliar with the concept, multi-send is our version of inbox rotation. And this has become a very popular technique for cold emailers where rather than sending, say, 1,000 emails from one address, which can, of course, have the various deliverability and warm up and whatnot issues we talked about, you distribute your campaign across multiple email accounts. But you only have to send it once, but you've connected all these different accounts, and we're sending them across those. So rather than 1,000 from one email address, you could send 50 emails from 20 different email addresses, and you can see how that's better. So if you want to set this up, I recommend just coming over to this multi-send blog post, checking it out. This will walk you through how to get your account set up, how to set it up in GMass. This is a really good way to send larger scale campaigns. It is a very popular technique today for cold emailers. In fact, it is probably the most popular technique for cold emailers that's going today, and so I highly recommended that. We have another question, yes, from PhoneOps. Is it best to put click here and add the link instead of putting the actual link to avoid the email going to spam? Will the system track those that clicked on click here? Okay, that's a great question. So let's talk about the 2 different types of links, right? You have, let's say you were linking someone to Yahoo. You have putting in the link, and then you have hyperlinked text. Right? So these are the 2 options, and this is what you're asking about, right? So interestingly enough, this link, this pure URL, cannot be click tracked, and I'll explain why. It's because, as we've been talking about with tracking domains, with a tracking domain, What we need to do as an email service provider, and this is what all email service providers will do, is we need to actually replace your link here, like your Yahoo link. We would replace that with a different link, right? We would replace that with the tracking link, which then someone clicks on it, it goes to the tracking link, that records the click, and then it redirects to the end website. So when you mouse over this in the email, it wouldn't say yahoo.com, it would say whatever the tracking domain is, aws blah 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 blah.com, or your custom tracking domain. However, we can't rewrite the link on these URLs because that is a spam trigger. Because what Google wants to see is if you put a URL in here, people need to click on that and it needs to go directly to that URL. If you put a pure URL, a raw URL like this in an email, and then it redirects somewhere else, even though it's ultimately redirecting to the end site, Google doesn't know that, and they think what you're trying to do is trick someone into clicking a link they think is one thing, but that takes them to somewhere else. So if you want click tracking, you need to use hyperlinked text, not pure URLs, and of course have click tracking on. So to answer your question, if you put click here, and you're tracking then you can track that URL. Now, in terms of going to spam versus not going to spam, a link is a link, right? And if you have, some people say, some cold emailers will say you shouldn't have any links in your email. But if you want to avoid the whole issue of tracking domains, right, and you don't care about knowing your click tracking numbers, or you can get those on your side, through your analytics, or you could add UTM parameters to your link, whatever it may be. So you don't want to rely on the email systems-based click tracking, our click tracking. Then you could just do the raw URL. Then it would not be click tracked in any way. So no custom tracking link if you've set one up, no general tracking link if you haven't. It will just go to this website, whatever the website it may be. And so it will just go there straight up. And then there will be no click tracking on any end unless you have some internally. And in that case, you may, you can avoid any potential deliverability issues that come from click tracking. Again, if you have a custom tracking link set up, a custom tracking domain, not only does that should that not hurt deliverability, in some ways it should boost deliverability because again, we're adding the SSL certificate to it. And also, it's adding credibility to a link because when someone mouses over it, they don't see a generic click tracking link. They would see your domain, but probably with a subdomain. So it would be like link.yourwebsite.com and then whatever. So they would go there. So what I would say is if this is something that you're concerned about and you don't want to set up the custom tracking domain, but you do want people to click on a link, you could just put in the raw URL like this. Put in the raw, and then so it links directly. That won't be click tracked, that won't be rewritten, and then people can click on that link, but there won't be any tracking of any kind involved. If you do want click tracking, you need to use hyperlink text, and in that case, then we do have the potential, especially on the shared tracking domain. Let me see if I can find a blog post on this. GMass click tracking. Let me see if we have a good one here. Okay, here's a good one that we have. Email click tracking. Yes, so I can see from this screenshot that I've updated this blog post so I can have confidence that I know it's saying up-to-date information. So this, and this section actually in this blog post goes over what I just covered about URLs versus hyperlinked text. And so this is something you may want to cross-reference here as we're talking to and then we also get into custom tracking domains. So this will be a good blog post for you to get sort of the written versions of what I've just shown here and the things I've just explained. So our email click tracking post should serve you well in that case. So I hope that helps. Anyone, phone ops or anyone else who's here, I know we have some people who are hanging out here, have any other questions for me? I'll hang around for another minute or so. We'll just hang out, and if you have any other questions, yes. Is it best to put re in the subject line to avoid going to spam? No. No, that's a trick. And so, in fact, if you put re in the subject line, there's a chance you're going to turn people off. Putting re in the subject line will make no difference to Google because they know it's not actually a response. And you do run the risk of then you're starting to borderline get into spammer techniques. So I would not recommend on the initial email putting re in the subject line. I think that's sort of fallen out of favor as a trick. You could try it, but I don't think it's going to help you in any way. I mean, again, are you trying to fool people into opening? I mean, it could do that, but once you've tricked someone into opening, now you've sort of established that you're trying to trick them. And so that raises their suspicions because they'll open the email and say, wait a minute, this isn't a reply. I've never talked to this person before. You automatically are putting them mentally on the defensive there. So I don't think that the juice is worth the squeeze, as they say. I don't think that using tricks to get people to open is a good way for a legitimate cold emailer to start off business relationships with people, which again is ultimately the point of what we're trying to do. So while you can try tricks like that, I don't think that you're going to see any measurable boost from them, but I do think that it can affect things. Yeah. So that's what I would say. Techniques like that tend to come and go, right? There are always these sort of cold email tricks that people use and things that become popular, then they become too popular and become oversaturated, and then they quickly fall out of favor. And I think doing the re is one of those. And yes, I would say that the more you personalize, the better chance you have to avoid spam, both from the perspective of you're changing up your emails. And while Google is pretty savvy to that and to the concept of spinning, it does vary up the content of your emails, and the personalization also hopefully makes it more likely that your email will be tailored to the person who receives it and it will be of more interest to them. Something you may want to check out is GMass's spin tags. So this is another popular technique amongst cold emailers today. There's questions as to the efficacy of it, but you may find some value in it. And what spin tags is essentially it's varying up the language in your email. So here's an example that I put in this blog post right here, where I'm spinning hi, hello, hi, hey, greetings, dear, hey there, different greetings. And so I generated it with ChatGPT, and let me go up to the whole email here. So let me see if you can see this on screen. But basically, you're just varying up the language of your email, so that way, even beyond the personalization, everyone's emails are looking a little different. Now, we think that Google's probably relatively aware of this concept. However, this may, just varying up the language here, is just helping it so you're not sending identical email after identical email after identical email. And in that case, where now you are running the risk of you're just sending this bulk mass identical email. So yes, more personalization. You can also throw in spin tags here. And those could be ways to vary up the content of your email. The reason I didn't discuss those earlier is, again, because there is some degree of maybe this works, maybe this doesn't, to this from a deliverability perspective. However, I do know that a lot of cold emailers like using spin tags. Some of them swear by it. Some of them don't use it at all. But right now, in this present time, spin tags is still a very popular technique that cold emailers are using. Like I just said about using re in the subject line, it's one of these things where things get popular and then they get unpopular. And then, but right now, spin tags is a very popular thing. In fact, the reason that we have this in GMass is we had a version of this and we really beefed it up a few months back because there were so many people who are requesting it, because this is the technique of the moment, the technique du jour, where people really do like spinning up their emails. So I would recommend, for someone like you, phone ops, who I know you're what it seems like I'm getting. You want to take all the precautions you can, all the deliverability precautions you can to give yourselves the absolute best chance. Go for it, right? Using some spin tags in your email certainly shouldn't hurt, and it should hopefully instill some more confidence and give you an even better shot. So I would recommend, give it a try, and hopefully that spin tags will work from you. But yes, again, as you said, your instincts are right, and personalization is always going to be the best. because again, nothing is going to be better for your deliverability than when you send a campaign, people who receive your email, who you've never emailed before, interact with that campaign. Interact meaning they open it, and especially they reply to it. Because that's the absolute, by far and away, best signal to Google that you're sending emails that people actually want, and in that case, your emails belong in the inbox. So the better engagement you can get, the better your next campaign is going to do, and your next one after that. Because again, Google's just trying to surface emails that people actually want into their inboxes. And so that's the best thing you can do. And it would track that more personalization is going to lead to more engagement because you're sending something that's more relevant to a person. It catches their eye in a different way. It resonates with them in a different way. It solves their problem better, whatever it may be. However it may be that you use personalization, hopefully then in those cases that will help increase your opens and your replies, and then that will, of course, continue to boost up the amount of inboxes you're hitting. All right, let's see. Yes, that's correct. We use a domain email. The reply will be the same domain email. Or should we use the new Gmail email? Let me see. When you reply, I mean, it makes sense when you set a campaign with an email and someone replies to you, that it goes to that same email, and then you reply to them from that same email. Again, because I think from the perspective of the recipient, that looks the most that seems like the most matching of a one-on-one sending cadence. Like let's say you weren't sending a cold email blast and you're just sending you found one company that's perfect for whatever you're selling, and you wrote them a cold email, and they wrote back to you. It would probably go to the email that you sent that from. And then when you respond to that, it would probably come from the same email too, because that's what a one-on-one interaction looks like. And with cold email, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to simulate the one-on-one experience at scale. So what you're doing there is by always replying from the same email, you're getting that scale. So I would recommend that you stay consistent throughout. And if you use GMass multi-send, the way it works is when someone replies to you, when someone responds to your campaign, obviously your emails there are being distributed across multiple accounts and are coming from different emails. But when someone replies, it goes back to the email that they sent it, that sent it to them, whichever one of your sending accounts used it. And then when you respond using our unified inbox tool that we have here, that response will go from the same email that initiated it. So it's not like all of a sudden they got an email from someone, replied to that person, and then someone different emails them back, or someone emails them back from a different account. Now, will some people notice this? Maybe. Will some people not notice it? Maybe. But we like to just take that precaution. So I usually recommend staying consistent with the email as long as you can until you've formed a little bit of a back and forth with the person. And in that case, you can pass them off, or however you phrase it, to a different email address if you want to move it over to a different email. So that's what I would recommend, is keeping the email that they're corresponding with consistent until that no longer makes sense. And you can sort of make the organic transition over if you want to a different email address. But in terms of from a deliverability perspective, also engaging from the same email, it's good to just show that you're using this email, you're getting some back and forth going on this email. That can be, that can also be a good sign, because then again, you're showing Google, this isn't just an email address that exists to send mass email blasts. I'm actually using this to engage with people. So thank you for asking all the questions. If you hadn't asked questions, I would just be a bit asking ones off the spreadsheet. I'm happy to answer your questions. Do you have any others? Because I do not have any more pre-submitted questions, and it doesn't look like anyone else is asking. So if you have any others, go ahead and ask them. I will need to wrap this up by the top of the hour, but we have more time. If you have more questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm happy to do, again, this is why this is here. This is why the office hours are here. So always happy to do this. Please go ahead and ask if you have questions, and I will answer them. We are doing, trying to do as much as we can. Sure. All right. Great, another one, perfect. Since we have multiple departments, for each campaign we'll have different domain emails. Is there a max email accounts to add to our one account? No. So GMass, with our multi-send system, we do not put a limit on the email addresses you can connect to your main account and to your main paid account. Because remember, with multi-send, you only need the one paid account, and then all the sending accounts are just sort of drones off of that. Those don't need to be paid GMass accounts. You just need the one paid sending account. And there is no limit to the number of emails that you can connect to this. And also, something that we've done is if you have different main sending accounts, like you said, if you have a different department, you can use the same sending accounts on those as well. You don't need to only connect one sending account to one main account, and then that makes it so you can only send it. Some of the competitors in this marketplace have that in place, where you can only, if you have a sending account, you can only be connected to one main account. We don't have that. You can use the same sending accounts over and over for different main accounts. So no, you can, and there's really no max that we found. We do have people who've connected hundreds of sending accounts. So you can really set up as many sending accounts as you need off your main account to distribute your campaign. I'm sure there is some limit. There's some theoretical limit to this, but we have not hit it yet. And again, we do not charge for the number of sending accounts. We let you connect as many as you want or you need to your main sending account. And you can connect those secondary sending accounts to as many main sending accounts as you want, but each main sending account needs its own GMass plan, right? So let's say one technique you could use that we've seen someone use is you could get one of the GMass team plans, right? So here at GMass, we have our team plans, right? It starts with 5 users. So you could do the 5-user plan, and then each of those 5 users could be your main sending account, and then you could connect 20 or however many to each of those, and then you can connect your sending accounts to all of those. So recommend doing that if you want to have multiple main sending accounts, and then you can keep reusing the same secondary sending accounts. Cool. I will continue to stick around, so please go ahead, ask any questions you have. I'm more than happy to do this, and I'll sit here and just kind of hang out and maybe take a little sip of water, because I've been talking for 45 minutes straight, which is shouldn't be as easy for me as it is. I guess I talk more than I realize. There we go. No, absolutely my pleasure, Phone Ops. Great. I'm glad I could help. Please let me know if you have any other questions. I'll be here. You can always reach out to support. And I will be here same time next week, next Thursday. So if you have more questions, please drop by then. I legitimately do not mind all the questions. In fact, I really like it. I really like answering the live questions. And that's why I do this. And so definitely come back if you have more questions. However, since you're all set and it doesn't seem like anyone else is asking live questions, I'm going to wrap this up. So to everyone who is watching this recording, again, we do these office hours, as I said, every Thursday at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Time. And you can RSVP at the GMass Office Hours website to get a calendar reminder and also to pre-submit questions. In the meantime, if you have other questions, you can reach out to GMass's support team and they should be able to help you. Or I highly recommend, as you've seen me do throughout these office hours, search. You can just search Google, type GMass and then a question, or go to our GMass blog and search there. Believe it or not, typing something in here, you will get answers. We have answered almost every question there is somewhere on our blog. We use a very intuitive Google search here, and then you'll be all set. So that is all from me. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.